Blake Lovell and Chris Lee from Southeastern 14 here to preview the New Year's Day matchup in the ReliaQuest Bowl between LSU and Wisconsin. LSU is about a 10-point favorite on BetOnline as we speak. This is Wednesday. 10-point line in favor of LSU with an over-under 55.5, making for a predicted final of LSU 33, Wisconsin 23. Some computers and what they have this at, SP Plus has LSU by 9, Sagarin LSU by 12, FPI LSU by 15, team rankings LSU by 17. Of course, that's with teams at full strength, which is not the case. We'll get into that in just a minute. First, a reminder, our preview brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. All the major pro sports are in action along with college sports. This week, college football playoffs ready to kick off. BetOnline is your number one destination for all your sports wagering info, including news for pro football, the NBA, upcoming fights, and NHL games this season. Head to the website today to get in on the action. See all the updated odds for the week. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to get your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, let's start with opt-outs. LSU, of course, missing Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Jaden Daniels. Of course, LSU also with one of the best backup quarterbacks in college football in Garrett Nussmeier. So not sure. I mean, obviously that departure is going to leave a mark. Anytime you lose the best player in the country, that's going to hurt. But LSU more poised than most to pick up the slack there. And, of course, some pretty good receivers to throw to. LSU also has lost Sage Ryan. But Blake, Wisconsin also without some key guys, and in particular, guys who caught a lot of balls for the Badgers this year.
Yeah. Thank you, LSU, because they're one of the teams in a bowl game that really don't have a lot of guys that aren't playing. Like you said, really Jaden Daniels is the most significant because he was the Heisman Trophy winner and all that, but having a really good backup quarterback helps. But yeah, I mean, if you compare LSU's opt-outs and or transfers to pretty much most teams, I would say they're playing bowl games. LSU's on the top tier there in terms of having pretty much their same nucleus in place. Wisconsin, on the other hand, they have guys who have multiple guys who've opted out. Allen, starting running back. They've got several wide receivers, or at least there were a couple have transferred. I think there was an injury situation with one. Don't know exactly the update yet. Again, I'm recording this ahead of time. So, as always, guys, we do the best we can, but you can't always track. In this era, you can't always track who's going to play, who's not going to play. There could still be transfers and or injury updates by the time this game is played. So, it does look like a situation, Chris, where, LSU, a team that was really good this season, scored a lot of points, as we know, has a chance to score a lot of points in this game. Wisconsin, got here for a reason, but they are missing some key guys at skill positions, and looks like a potential significant difference there in terms of who's going to be on the field and who's not for these two teams.
Okay, when LSU's got the ball, Tigers averaged 46.4 a game. Wisconsin, in a defense-oriented league, gave up 18.9. LSU 8.5 yards a snap. I don't know if that led the country, but it had to be close. Wisconsin only gave up 4.9. LSU run pass balance with a sack counts as a passing play, exactly 50-50, which is exactly the split at which teams approach Wisconsin, 50-50 run pass. Yards per rushing play, LSU averaged 6.9. A lot of that came with Jaden Daniels. Per pass play, 10.1. Wisconsin giving up 4.6 and just 5.3 there. So that passing defense might be something to watch. LSU only turned it over 0.9% of the time. Wisconsin forced turnovers at a 2% rate, which is pretty decent. And Wisconsin also had 29 sacks. LSU only gave up 22. Again, some of that was on the escapability of Jaden Daniels. LSU gave up a ton of sacks the year before. But the dynamic of this LSU offense is going to change. But again, Neighbors, Thomas, catching passes. Nussmeier, I believe he lit it up in a bowl game last year in part-time action. So, look, LSU, I think, still got a pretty although Wisconsin defense very good, but I mean, who really stopped LSU all year, Blake?
Yeah, that's the thing is like even with Nussmeier in there, last year in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, a favorite here at Southeastern 14. Um, they ran Purdue off the field. It was 63-7 or whatever it was. Nussmeier went 11 of 15, 173 yards, a couple touchdowns in that one. And yeah, I mean, it's I think that's the thing is right. Keep in mind, this is a guy that has thrown I don't know how many passes he's thrown in his career. 174. He's thrown 57 this year, 84 last year. Or excuse me, hold on, 33 this year. I did the opposite order. 84 last year, 57 in 2021. And so he's played though in some of these big games, right? Like he's been in games. Like think about the Georgia game last year in the SEC championship. He
Mm-hmm.
played, and so like I think that experience helps him here. It's obviously a different setup, a different scenario, but that's why we said at the beginning, like this is not maybe exactly a situation where you're just talking about okay, it's just a guy who's a backup and doesn't have this, doesn't have that. Um, so I think that is one of those situations where I feel still okay about LSU offensively here, even without the Heisman Trophy winner. And part of that too is think about all the guys that are around Jaden Daniels this year, and that's what we kept talking about. This offense, whether it's Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, and just going down the list, Nussmeier's going to have plenty of options to get the ball to those guys. And like you said, Wisconsin's defensive numbers are good. Like they're a good defensive team. There's no question about it. But I still think there's a lot of ways for LSU, maybe not to be to the height that they were with Jaden Daniels when he's under center, but they still have a chance to be an elite offense even without him on the field, just because of all the playmakers that are out there. And I think Nussmeier can at least make enough plays here to put some pressure on that good Wisconsin defense. So
The one other thing worth mentioning, offensive coordinator Mike Denbach left to go back to Notre Dame.
yeah.
So I don't know how much of a factor that is. LSU, again, plenty of guys, plenty of good offensive coaches on that side of the ball, but just going to mention that too. All right, let's talk about the other side of the matchup. LSU's defense, not very good. Neither was Wisconsin's offense. LSU gave 27.8 points a game on 67 snaps on average. Actually, defense was on the field for more snaps than the offense, but it's because LSU scored so quickly against pretty much anybody and everybody. Wisconsin, 22.8 points a game. Per snap, LSU gave up 6.1 per play. Wisconsin averaged 5.2. Wisconsin ran it 47% of the time, gained 5.2 per rushing play. LSU gave up 5.3 there. Wisconsin on passing plays, just 5.3 yards per play. LSU gave up 6.9, which is not great.
Not great.
And turnover rates, Wisconsin 1.9%. LSU forced turnovers 1.6% of the time. And as we, I think, mentioned, Wisconsin playing without a good chunk of its receiving core. Not that Wisconsin was very good in passing the ball, even with those guys.
Yeah, I mean, and I think like you said, Braylon Allen opting out. I mean, he was their leading rusher too, and so it's just one of those things where he almost 1,000-yard rusher. Had 984 yards on the ground, 12 touchdowns. And he was someone too that caught passes out of the backfield. I want to say he was probably top 4 or 5 in terms of receptions for that Wisconsin team. So that is a significant one, like you said, for an offense that already was probably not an upper tier offense by any means. And so that's the thing, though. I mean, we could say that about anybody, Chris. Against this LSU defense, you're going to have opportunities, and so that's the thing is you kind of point all these things out and say, well, yeah, Wisconsin may be missing some guys, and they may not look as good on paper as the stats show, and even then, they're not anywhere near an LSU type offense. But LSU's defense was not very consistent, and so you're still probably going to have your chances to make big plays, and so that's probably the biggest question in this one is just can Wisconsin take advantage of that, knowing that there are going to be opportunities out there because consistency just was not there for LSU's defense this season. Gave up a lot of big plays. You talked about just the yards per play numbers and all that. So Yeah, I mean, opportunity. That's the word I would put if I was Wisconsin on the whiteboard. Get the marker out. Opportunity will be there against this LSU defense, but I don't know. There's just some missing pieces, and I don't know if this Wisconsin team will be able to take advantage of it, even with again, a defense that left a lot to be desired this season.
Yeah, opportunity might be there. I just don't know that Wisconsin's got the firepower to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And look, LSU in terms of penalties, a pretty decent team in terms of discipline. Not very penalized the last few years. 52 yards of penalties this year. Wisconsin 48, so that's kind of a wash. I'm looking for to me if Wisconsin is going to upset LSU. It's got to be mistakes, and I just don't know that LSU, as bad as the defense is, the offense is, I think, still elite even without Jaden Daniels. To me, this one is an easy pick, and it's LSU.
Yeah, I'm picking LSU. If Braylon Allen was playing, I would give a strong look at Wisconsin just because I think he would be able to help them take advantage of some of those defensive mistakes from LSU. But without him on the field, I just think it's a different offense. Because again, you're talking about a guy that declared for the NFL draft for a reason. I mean, he had last game he played in, that was November 25th, Minnesota, when he rushed for 165 yards. And so it's just, yeah, I mean, you're talking about a guy that was such a big part of this Wisconsin offense. And I think without him, even with LSU's defensive issues, like we said, I think, yes, you're taking also the best offensive player on LSU side with Jaden Daniels off the field, but that's like we said, that you still got Malik Neighbors, you've still got all these other guys, Thomas and the running game, and that's because I think he'll be able to have a good game here. So, yep, I would pick LSU too, and I think it sets up for again just seeing a program that doesn't have not been a lot of transfers, not been a lot of opt outs, those kind of things. I think having that, kind of keeping that momentum going is probably very important for Brian Kelly here, and so I think he'll have them ready to play in this one.
All right. He is Blake Lovell. I'm Chris Lee. We are Southeastern 14. This has been our preview of the ReliaQuest Bowl presented by Bet Online.